Before I tell you what my father said when the lock broke, tell me, what time is it where you are? I want to see how far this story travels. 3 days before Christmas, my father arrived at my front door with a locksmith, a forged lease, and the confidence of a man who has never been told no. My mother stood behind him, recording everything. My brother Nathan carried 2 suitcases like they were already moving in. My father held a fake document up to the security camera. This proves we have the right to live here. Open the door, Elena, or we'll open it ourselves. What he didn't know, 2 police officers waited in the library, 3 reporters in my dining room, and the locksmith already knew the paper in my father's hand was fraud evidence. I pressed the intercom. Go ahead. Break the door. My father smiled. That smile vanished less than a minute later. For 31 Christmases, my parents forgot my gifts, erased me from photographs, told relatives I was too busy to visit. The moment I bought a 12-room manor in Sedona without their help, they suddenly remembered exactly where their daughter lived. But taking my house was only part of their plan. What they'd done with my identity 2 years earlier was far worse. My father's weapon was revision, cruelty retold 6 months later until he was the victim. My mother supplied tears, my brother agreement. By 20, every painful memory carried an official family version in which I was unstable, ungrateful, or confused. I was 11 when my parents forgot my gift. My mother rewrapped her own scarf and called it mine. At 22, I brought framed illustrations to Christmas dinner. My father introduced me to a business partner by laughing. That's Elena. She disappears for years and comes back when there's free food. I'd been living 15 minutes away, calling my mother every Sunday. I stopped correcting their stories. Every correction became another accusation. Silence was the price of staying in the family, and I paid it until I was 29. That year, my father's company started collapsing. Nathan, who dropped out of business school, got a senior title and access to corporate accounts, which he drained on gambling and a failed crypto scheme. At Christmas dinner, my father praised Nathan for carrying the family legacy, then asked if my art was still just a hobby, while I'd illustrated 2 best-selling books and sent them $12,000 for employee health insurance. Nathan could burn through everything and stay the golden child. I could rescue everyone and stay the disappointment. That night, I opened a blank document titled The Letter I Will Never Send. First line. I have spent my life trying to become memorable to people committed to forgetting me. Over the next 5 years, I disappeared from their system, changed my number, closed the joint account, froze my credit. I saved every commission dollar and bought the manor through my art business, planning an artist's residency for women rebuilding after abuse. Marcus told me, "You're not being paranoid. You're responding to a pattern." I hadn't told my family any of this. Then an envelope arrived. A photocopy of a loan agreement, supposedly signed by me 2 years earlier, guaranteeing a $1.88 million loan for my father's company. The signature was close to mine, but the middle initial was wrong. A note said, "Call your father before this becomes embarrassing." I called Marcus instead. My father had used my identity to prop up his failing business. He said I had a selective memory. My mother suggested my anxiety history might complicate things legally. The forgotten daughter was being repositioned as the unreliable one. We installed cameras at every entrance and gathered records. Then Nathan contacted a locksmith, pretending to manage the property, and sent a lease claiming my parents were lawful tenants, my forged signature, copied purchase documents, and a physician's letter claiming impaired judgment, from a psychiatrist who never wrote it. The plan: enter while I was away, establish occupancy, use the manor as collateral. But the locksmith grew suspicious, found my company in the ownership records, and called me, his voice tight, caught between the client who'd hired him and a paper trail that didn't add up. "I think I may have been given incorrect information about your property. If I'm wrong here, I need to know before I touch that lock." I told him he wasn't wrong. He went quiet for a long moment, then asked what I needed from him. We designed a controlled confrontation. He'd arrive as scheduled, police waiting in the library, reporters in the dining room, me at the intercom, ready to go live. On December 22nd, at 7 in the morning, a black SUV stopped outside my gates. My father, mother, Nathan, 2 suitcases. For 1 second, I wanted to ask why they couldn't just be proud of me. That question belonged to the girl I used to be. I switched on the cameras. My father knocked. "Elena, we are taking possession today." I said through the intercom, "You do not have permission." He turned to my mother's phone. "Our daughter is refusing access to her lawful tenants." Then, pointing at the manor, "I paid for her entire life. Everything she owns exists because of us." There it was, raising a child, as permanent ownership of the adult. The locksmith paused. "Sir, confirm on camera you have the legal right to occupy." "I confirm it." "And you understand the owner has denied permission?" "She does not have the capacity to deny it." That sentence was the threshold, a forged document, asserted as valid, and a fabricated claim of incapacity to override my ownership, all recorded. "Dad, if that door is damaged, there will be no private resolution." He laughed. "You can't stop us." Nathan wedged a pry bar between door and frame and pulled. My mother lowered her phone. "Nathan, wait." My father ordered him to continue. The second pull splintered the frame and triggered the alarm. The library doors opened. Officers crossed the hall. Marcus entered with reporters. Nathan dropped the pry bar. "What is this?" my father said. "A documented fraud investigation," Marcus said. "You were warned." He still held up the forged physician's letter. The detective already held a sworn statement from the real doctor. He'd never written it, never treated me in years. Then I stepped into view. My mother's face twisted. "You set us up." "No. I protected my house." "You chose what happened next." My father tried to move toward me, an officer blocked him. "You tried to enter my home using forged documents." "Our home." "No. That word is exactly what you never gave me." My mother tried the old script. "Elena has always been jealous of her brother. She once claimed we abandoned her on Christmas, but she refused to come. Except this time, I had the video diary." I played the clip. My father's voice, "Don't wake Elena. She can manage 3 days alone. Tell them she chose to stay." The room fell silent. My mother whispered, "That was a joke." I looked into the camera and went live. "My family is trying to enter my home with a forged lease and a false medical letter. Police are present. I am broadcasting because my parents have repeatedly used claims about my mental health to discredit me." On that stream, their story collapsed in real time. Nathan turned first, Dad handled the paperwork. But Marcus had messages from Nathan's phone discussing how my credit would keep the company alive. "You said she'd never find out," my mother said to my father, and that was the moment I understood, this wasn't Nathan's plan, or hers. It was theirs, together, and I had simply been the asset they'd agreed to spend. My mother turned on Nathan, Nathan on her, my father on both. My mother screamed they'd only needed a few rooms. "We were going to fix it before you knew." That was the truth. My consent was simply an obstacle. My father was arrested for burglary, forgery, criminal impersonation, and conspiracy. Nathan, for unlawful entry. As my father was led away, he looked into the stream. This is what happens when children are taught they owe nothing to their parents. I stood beside the broken door. No. This is what happens when parents mistake raising a child for purchasing one. The clip spread everywhere. The lender invalidated the guarantee. The company collapsed. For a while, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt the particular exhaustion of someone who has just watched a lifetime of denial confirmed on camera. Then the plea deals came. My father accepted prison, restitution, a permanent ban on managing assets. Nathan cooperated, avoided prison, lost everything, and later emailed, "I assumed you would eventually forgive us because you always had." I replied, "I am not available," and blocked him. My mother moved into a cousin's condo. Her letters cycled through blame and sentiment. A mother's mistakes should not erase a lifetime of love. She never mentioned the letter. I never replied. I left the broken doorframe in place until the case ended, then gave the wood to a sculptor, who turned it into entry denied, a splintered doorway around a bronze woman holding her own key. It stands in the gallery now, part of the residency I opened that autumn, a photographer, a ceramicist, a writer, each rebuilding after abuse. Every woman arrived with her own talent, not as a victim waiting for permission. That first Christmas, Marcus arrived with a narrow box, the illustration from the dinner where no one remembered I'd drawn it. I studied the dark window I'd painted and added a figure climbing through it with a lantern, and a building in the distance with its doors open. Then I read the final page of the letter I'd been writing for 5 years. Dear Mom and Dad, for years I believed being forgotten meant I had failed. I tried harder, forgave faster. Nathan was allowed to need everything. I was praised for needing nothing. You called that strength because it made abandoning me easier. When I bought this house, you saw an asset that had escaped your control, so you came with false papers, because being my parents placed you above my consent. I never imagined freedom would begin when I stopped needing you to remember me. I'm reading this to close the door you tried to break down. The ceramicist raised her glass. To owning the key. Everyone repeated it. So tell me honestly, if your parents only remembered you when they needed your money, your name, or your home, would you give them another chance, or close the door for good? Type record if you'd close it for good. This story was entirely fictional, created for education, entertainment, and dramatic storytelling. Lineage of Lies is a space where we explore the stories we inherit and the truths we reclaim. Because sometimes the most dangerous lies are the ones passed down as love. If this stayed with you, share it with someone who needs to hear that walking away isn't weakness. It's remembering yourself.